Hey folks, this is Ben from the engineering team here at Collate. Super happy to discuss the foundations that are powering our new AI agents. The data landscape is changing rapidly. Every day brings new sources and volumes of data to ingest, while we gain new tools to curate and transform this information into dashboards and ML models. We also face growing data complexity and increasing platform complexity. The fundamental challenge is that critical knowledge and context are constantly scattered across these different tools, creating silos that force our data users to learn and navigate fragmented systems. The work we have pioneered with Open Metadata and Collate over the past few years has been focused on addressing this exact problem, making sense of all of this scattered information. We accomplish this by defining and implementing open source metadata standards, allowing us to effectively translate and curate every unit of your data platform, regardless of which system they come from. The result is a unified metadata graph covering your entire stack, which empowers users with seamless data discovery, observability, and governance. This becomes the foundation of open metadata, an API and schema-first implementation of these standards that create a highly extensible architecture, allowing organizations to continuously integrate new sources and services and fully connect their entire data ecosystem. Once the data is centralized, we must recognize a fundamental truth. Data does not live in isolation, and data itself does not solve any problems. Data only gains value when it is contextualized within your organization and your business. This requires understanding not only the data, but how the data is being used, who owns it, and what the business impact of each specific asset is. And more importantly, both the questions and expected answers to data will be different for different user personas. Data analysts, engineers, and scientists have distinct projects, goals, and technical knowledge, but they should all be able to work together in a single tool, leveraging a unified experience and building their solutions based on this unified knowledge graph. In the end, this is the definitive source of truth for everything happening around data in the organization. Otherwise, we'll just end up creating more silos and more complexity. Now, if we are able to build this experience for people, we should also be able to bring all of this context for AI tooling so that we can increase the productivity of everyone in your workforce. What we bring to the table here is a way to transform this unified knowledge graph into knowledge units that go far beyond simply giving an LLM access to the schema of your tables, but actually contextualizing it with the importance of an asset within your organization, its specific meaning, thanks to the integration of the glossary and the knowledge center, or even how it is currently being used, who owns it, and how that information flows through different pipelines and processes. We're able to achieve this not only via vector embeddings, but by leveraging your organization's vocabulary and all these super rich and complex relationships that represent the reality of your business, of your data, and your people. This is why we're announcing AskCollate, an AI agent that provides conversational analytics and data management capabilities, built upon this knowledge graph and powered by our RAG architecture. To illustrate the power of the system, let us consider a common business objective: improving the customer experience and optimizing revenue for a new product line of eco-friendly home goods. Everyone across the organization will be focused on answering questions around this data, and in the following examples, we will demonstrate how different personas, each with their specific needs and questions about the same underlying data, can all achieve their goals within the same platform. Now, as a data steward, I need to make sure we are organizing the information properly in our data platform. To do so, I'll get help from AskCollate to figure things out quickly. For this project, we have to start validating our vocabulary and definitions. So I'll ask, do we have any revenue definitions? AskCollate was smart enough to dig into our glossaries and correctly see that we don't have that term controlled yet. So I'll try to get a better view of the glossaries available. Which glossaries do we have? Since we're talking about home goods, I'll place the missing term in the e-commerce glossary. Create a new term in the e-commerce glossary that explains how we should sum up the total amount of sales. List me the proposal. The agent is giving me some pointers about the different fields and properties available to glossaries. Since it's already looking good enough, let's create it. However, I need to chat with the rest of the team regarding who should own that, so let's instruct the agent to not put any ownership details yet. Sounds good, let's create it, but don't put an owner though. In this case, the agent is impersonating me, and since I am part of the reviewers of the glossary, the term is automatically approved. However, anyone else would need to go through the approval process, keeping humans in the loop and maintaining the proper governance workflows. Now that we have the term control, I need to ensure people will be able to properly find the right assets under it. So let's figure out some candidates that could be tagged. Find tables in Snowflake that could help us compute the revenue. From all of these candidates, maybe the order items is the one that I like the most. Give me further details about order items. This structure is pretty much aligned with the definition of the revenue term, since we have the total amount here. So let's apply it. And thanks to the agent, anyone else in the organization can now quickly figure out where to find revenue-relevant data.
Hey everyone, Thomas here from the AI engineering team. Today, I'll be using AskCollate from a data analyst perspective, showing you how AskCollate takes advantage of its integration with many data sources to accelerate insight discovery. So let's go for it. So I've been asked to analyze how are the eco-friendly products performing, and for that, I'll just share my goal with AskCollate so it can help me find some relevant data. I want to assess my eco-friendly products performance. Any relevant data? Tier 1 assets only. Since that's how we typically tag our highly curated data, which is what I'm aiming to use in this task. Now, only in a matter of seconds, AskCollate is able to go through our entire data catalog, every data source connection that we have, that is Snowflake, Redshift, etc., in order to give us an action plan, right? So it is now pointing to 3 entities that might serve our goal, that is the products, the orders, and the customer table, all within Snowflake in this case. So that sounds reasonable. Maybe we can start with some market share analysis. Let's focus on Snowflake. Give me total market share for eco versus non-eco-friendly products in terms of total revenue share. Cool, so I'm asking it to give me the total market share for eco versus no eco-friendly products in terms of total revenue. Now, there's a lot of things going on here behind the scenes. First, AskCollate is transforming this natural language request into a SQL query, accounting for the data warehouse on which this query will be executed, in this case, Snowflake. And once this transformation is done, then it is able to execute this query directly against our data warehouse, thanks to the connection we have previously established. And now, once the results are back and fed to AskCollate, it is able to provide some insights. For instance, it is telling us that eco-friendly products account for about 43% of total revenue. Also, we have the SQL query that was executed attached here for reference, for validation, or just for copying and storing elsewhere. Nice. Maybe we can make some visuals out of this. Awesome. So it generated the plots. And the cool thing here is that these are kind of dynamic, so we can make some changes until they kind of hit our style. For instance, this green color might be a bit too much for me, so I'll probably change that. Make it dark green. Also, make the description insightful, one-liner. So I'm asking it to make it a bit more subtle and also change the description to make it insightful, not only describing what the plot is about. So it is now dark green and it's telling me that the eco-friendly products contribute a significant 43% of total revenue, highlighting the strong impact in the market. We can see in comparison that previously it was just describing what it was plotting. Cool. So there's that. Now, we can make as many iterations as we want. We can, for instance, change the chart type. Here we have only 2 data points, which add up to 100. So maybe it makes sense. There's a case for a donut chart here. So let's try that. Make a donut chart instead and plot the non-eco products in gray color. So I'm asking it to make it a donut chart instead, and also to plot the non-eco products in gray color, so we can just focus on the message we're trying to get here, which is that eco-friendly market share of a significant 43%. Cool. So we can continue here and just starting to create some plots for our dashboard or report that we want to present. Awesome. Now maybe we can switch here to analyze some customer segmentation in terms of lifetime value, how much revenue they will generate. And here AskCollate suggested us to use the customer 360 table, which we can see have some customers metadata, and also data related to the lifetime value, and how much, in the sense that how much revenue they have generated so far. And also customer tier, again, linked to that lifetime value, is segmented into high, medium, or low revenue. We also have info regarding if they have ever purchased any eco-friendly product and how many of them. Awesome. Let's go for it. Now give me the percentage of customers that have bought eco products, grouped by customer tiers. You probably have all the info you need in Customers 360. Cool. So I'm now asking it to give me the percentage of customers that have bought eco products, grouped by customers tier. And I'm also suggesting it probably have all the information it needs in the Customer 360 table. So let's see what it comes up with. Here is just translated to SQL syntax, executing the query against the data warehouse and getting back the results for assessment. Awesome. So here are again the SQL that was executed, the table with the results, and some insights. We can see that all of the customers that have generated high revenue in the past have purchased eco-friendly products at least once, and roughly 3 out of 4 customers with medium revenue in the past have purchased as well. And there's a room for improvement for those customers that have purchased not that much in terms of revenue in the past. But this is an interesting takeaway here, that the higher the revenue a customer have had in the past, the more likely it is that it has been involved with eco-friendly products purchase. So that's good to know. Lastly, maybe we want to see what are our best performing eco-friendly products. So let's switch focus to a product level analysis, and let's finish with that. Search for product catalog assets, then list me every eco-friendly product in the catalog and their total revenue. So I'm now asking Collate to give me all of the eco-friendly product in my catalog and the total revenue that they have generated so far. Just want to see the bestseller, our most valuable products. Awesome. So we have here that we currently have in this new line of product, we have 5 eco-friendly products, the bestseller being the organic cotton t-shirt. Nice. Now, there's something that I find weird here is that our beach chair have a revenue of $0. A bit concerning for me, because I know for a fact that we have sold some of these chairs, that we have had some feedback from customers. So we have uncovered a potential data quality issue here. And this is actually the perfect scenario for the engineering team to kick in and leverage Ask Collate to perform a root cause analysis, which will be the focus of our next demo. But let me step back and summarize what we have accomplished in just a few minutes without actually leaving this chat. We search for our data catalog and filter out for Tier 1 certified assets, ensuring we are working with trusted production-ready data. We ask Collate to translate our business questions into SQL queries and execute them directly against our Snowflake data warehouse. We created and iterated and refined visualization, changing data, chart type, colors, and format, all through conversational requests. So we went from high-level market share analysis down to customer segmentation and individual products performance, and we actually caught a potential data quality issue that will be tackled next.
Hi, my name is Teddy. I'm part of the engineering team at Collate, and I'm super excited to share with you how you can leverage Ask Collate from the perspective of a data engineer in your organization so that you can reduce the time it takes to find anomalies and put remediation steps in place. All right, let's dive into our investigation into the issues that we have seen with our customer report dashboard. Can you show the tables used to generate my customer report dashboard? So to understand that those anomalies, we'll first ask our agent to show us what are the tables used to generate this specific customer report dashboard. Perfect. We now have the answer from our agent, and we'll see that the structure of the response is going to be very similar throughout the investigation. So at the top, we have our dynamic component. The dynamic component is an item that Collate users will be very familiar with, and that dynamic component is fully interactable. So I can click on a node, for example, to get more information about that specific table, or I can also look at the different layers that are composing my lineage. So for example, if I want to get column level lineage, I'm able to expand that view to get information directly within the component. And then at the bottom, I will have a summary that is provided by AskCollate, right, by the agent. So we can see that we have 5 tables that are used to generate our customer report dashboard, and they all belong to our Collate shop schema. And we can see that customer 360 is the table directly responsible for generating data in customer report. All right. So now that we have an understanding of this flow of data into our customer report dashboard, we want to see and understand if there are any anomalies with the data that are feeding into our customer report dashboard. Can you search for this table and tell me if you see any anomalies? For example, negative values, null values, duplicate, etc. with the data and statistics? So now we'll ask Collate to search for this table and tell us if there are any anomalies with the statistics and the data. And we'll give it some example of what we think are anomalies with our data. And as our agent is proceeding, if we expand the thinking box, we are able to see the step it is taking to go and fetch and retrieve the information required to answer our request. All right, I now have a full summary and a full detail of the profiling and statistic of the different table composing the data flow of the customer report dashboard. And I can navigate and look at the summary of data through my dynamic component directly in the interaction box. And I can also directly click on the link so that I will be redirected to that specific entity in Collate so that I can go further into exploration and get more information and details about this specific table. And then at the bottom, I will see a full summary of the data and analysis that were generated by our agent, right? So I can have a full detail for each specific table. And then at the very bottom, I will see the summary of the investigation that was performed by our agent. And so from here, I can see that in our products table, for the unit price column, that it contains 2 negative values that seems to be a data entry error for product pricing, right? Because we are expecting unit price to be not negative most of the time. And all the other fields seems to be okay, right? So from here, after just a few minutes, I already have some very interesting information into potential anomalies that are causing a problem inside my customer report dashboard, right? So from there, I can go ahead and go to my system and directly address the issue on the unit price column inside my products table. And then what I also want to do is put steps in place so that if an issue like this happen again, then I will be proactively informed of a data test failure so that I can address the issue before it impacts any data consumer. So let's go ahead and ask Collate to perform that action for us. Can you create the relevant test cases for my products table? So we'll ask AskCollate to create the relevant test cases based on its analysis for our products table. Perfect. Our agent has now went ahead and created 16 new test cases inside our products table. And we can see that it used 5 dimensions to generate those data quality tests, so completeness, uniqueness, accuracy, validity, and integrity. And most importantly, it first checked if there were any existing test cases. So in our case, there were 0 existing test cases that were previously defined in our products table. And so, it went and checked those test cases to make sure that it does not create any duplicate test cases. So we can now navigate to our product table and verify that our data quality tests were indeed generated, right? So we can now navigate to the data quality tab, and here we can see that we have multiple test cases that were generated by the agent. And more importantly, we can see that our agent went ahead and created a range validation for our unit price column to make sure that the issue and the anomaly that we saw in the data is being caught early so that we can address it before impacting the data consumer. So you can see with Ask Collate that we are able in less than 10 minutes to understand the flow of data feeding our dashboard, then perform a full analysis of the statistics and the data for this table feeding into our customer dashboard, and then go ahead and implement a battery of tests for the table that was causing an issue. If you think about the step that you would have had to take before AskCollate, you would have had to go into individual system, run queries against different tables, try to understand the statistic and generate the statistics for this data, and then perform a full-on analysis. With AskCollate, we are reducing the time that it takes you to resolve any ongoing issue with your data so that data consumer gets clean and sane data faster.
Hey everyone, Mohit here from the engineering team at Collate. Today, I'm excited to walk you through Ask Collate and its Slack integration. Ask Collate brings your metadata context right into your Slack workspace, so your teams can access insights, discuss issues, and make decisions all without having to leave their workspace. It is designed to make collaboration faster, smarter, and a lot more efficient. So let's deep dive into it. In our organization, all of our collaboration and quick decisions happen in Slack. As a data leader, I want to stay on top of how our new product lines are performing, but I also want to make sure that the data I'm looking at is trusted. Let us see how Ask Collate helps me do that. So I have invited Ask Collate to this channel. Now let us directly look at the performance of the eco-friendly home goods. So here I'm asking Collate to summarize the performance of our eco-friendly home goods using Snowflake data. Okay, so now we have the data about there are 5 eco-friendly products available. We can now look for where this data is coming from and check whether that data is trustable or not. So I'm asking it to get the assets that are used for this information. As you can see, it uses products and customer 360 to get the information. I can click and explore in Collate to see the asset that is being used. So as you can see, this is the products table. Then further, it uses the customer 360 and products. I want to see the data health for these assets to make sure that this data is trustable.
Can you give me data health for customer 360 and product? Okay. So for these two tables, we have customer 360, which has 9 test cases that are passing and 1 test case which is failing. And then you have test coverage by different dimensions for this table. There is accuracy, completeness, uniqueness, and furthermore, for the products table, there are 20 test cases which are passing. So that means this is fair. I can trust these numbers. Now let's see who owns these assets. Okay, as we can see, the customer 360 is owned by a data platform team and products is also owned by the data platform team. So now what I want to do is I want to prepare a short summary of these insights that I've got. So I'm asking it to prepare a short summary for the board meeting that highlights the eco-friendly product performance, the ownership for these assets, and the data health. That's a nice summary that I can use probably for the next meeting. So now I have trusted metrics, clear ownership, and actionable insights all from this Slack. So that is all for the demo. Thank you.